I wear a 17 and a half size shirt, and this is called a loose fit. See, the armhole size is bigger. It fits pretty well from the shoulders, and that's what you usually look for, is how it fits there. That's what I look for, the shoulder fit. But usually they assume that you have this big belly when you have a 17 and a half shirt, which I do not. So it fits me really kind of loosely. So I have to take in a lot of space here to make this fit. And this is kind of what it looks like when you tuck it in. It's very blousy. This is not a look that you prefer. Now here's what's called a regular fit. Now it fits a little bit better. The arm size is smaller. It looks better when it's tucked in, but still even the regular size need to be adjusted. And this is a trim fit. Nice fitting shirt, except this size is a little bit snug. It's only 16 and a half. And here's a t-shirt that I'm going to adjust. I'm going to show you how to do all of those with this technique I'm going to show you today. So first of all, you're going to make sure that you button the shirt, then turn it inside out. And once that's done, you got to flatten it, making sure all of your creases are out that's underneath. Make it as flat as possible, and you're going to make some measurements. My first measurement is from the top of the shoulder seam, about 11 inches. Based upon my height, 11 inches work, and then I put it 6 inches below that point. So at my 11-inch mark and then 6-inch mark, now I measure my distance. I'm 44 inches in my chest, so I need to make sure that I'm going to take out on both sides about 3 inches, with the final result being a 42-inch span here, because that's what my chest will measure at this point. At the higher up is 44, but at this point where I'm measuring right across right now is 42. So I'm taking out about 3 inches there, and then 4 inches at the next point. So the first point, the higher point, is 3 inches. The next point is 4 inches. Now I'm going to make a curve, kind of connecting those spots. Now here's a template that I've already made that shows me exactly how my measurements are. I'm going to show you how to make this template a little bit later. But once I align those marks, my 3-inch mark, my 4-inch marks, I basically draw a straight line with my template, and that is what I'm going to have to cut out to allow me to have that 42-inch measurement at that point once it is sewn. Again, I'm lining up my marks and drawing it out. There you go. Now I'm going to pin it, because when I turn it over and start sewing, I don't want to lose the spacing there. Also, it will tend to wrinkle underneath. I'm going to have to reduce my armhole size, so I'm going to draw a line directly out to the cuff of my sleeve, extending from the point where I measured at the top, at the seam, at the armhole. At the armhole, there's a measurement, and we're going to continue to extend that line from that measurement right there at the armhole. I'm going to extend it all the way out to the cuff of the sleeve, because I'm going to taper that out and cut out that distance. So here's where we're going to begin. You have to back up your stitching a little bit to lock it, and I'm just going to sew straight on the line that I measured. Always making sure that there's no creases underneath, that it's not puckered underneath. Good. Alright. Good. And then I'm going to do the other side. Now usually I would flip the garment over and sew it very similar size. Well, right now I'm checking to make sure there's no creases or that I didn't sew in the wrong spot. Here's the opposite side. For those that sews, you can flip the garment and probably measure from the other side, and it'll sew a lot easier, because I've got a lot of material I'm trying to push through on the right side there. But this is one method in how to do that. I'm just simply following the line all the way through to the end, making sure there's no creases underneath, no puckering. And it lined up pretty well at the end. As you can see, the hem lined up pretty well. Again, checking it out to make sure that there's no mistakes. I remove the pins, and here's the first initial phase of this. It looks pretty good. This is what it would look like. Basically just sewn. I haven't cut anything out, but this is the way this is how it's looking so far. Now I'm going to cut out the excess. That's my next step. Cut out all the excess. I leave about a 3/8 of an inch allowance once I cut. That's about that much space in between my seam. I leave about 3/8 of an inch because I'm going to fold that over and sew it a little bit later. Okay. This is my template. It shows you that it basically came out exactly like the template. I've cut out exactly that dimension that I needed. Now here's a twin needle that I'm using right now because I'm going to kind of make it really neat and look like a custom shirt. But you see that now how much I've left off when I cut. It's about 3/8 of an inch from the seam. I fold it back and I'm going to essentially sew down that portion. So I'm right a little bit beyond the armhole, and from the armhole I'm coming down and going to go straight to the end, up to the bottom of the hem of that shirt. But I'm sewing right now that flap that I folded over. I'm sewing that down. All right, so that's basically what it looks like. Don't criticize me because I didn't do it quite as well as I usually do because I was rushing to get this done, and also I think I was a little nervous because I was videotaping. So I'm folding my flap under that way. And this is what it looks like, sewing directly onto the flap and leaving a little bit of allowance from the seam. But if you look at your dress shirts, you'll see exactly what I'm trying to duplicate there. You want to make it very strong there because that's where you tend to put a lot of stress on the shirt, is right there at those seams. Go a little bit past the armhole, keep going a little bit past the armhole, and then that's where I usually end it or start it, right at those points. Okay, very good, very nice. Let's try it on. That's before. How blouse it was, how much space I had to cut out of that shirt. Wow, who'd want to wear a shirt like that? And this is after. Oh, looking good, Dr. James. Good job. This is what it's like, completely altered. What a model. In making the template, first of all, you're going to have to freehand a little bit your first shirt. Once you got it there, your curves are correct. As you can see, this template matches exactly the way it should. So once I've got a garment made completely, once you've freehanded it and the curves are exact, use a cardboard just like I've done and insert it right under the garment and basically at the bottom of the seam. And this cardboard should have been a little bit longer because most of my garments are a little bit longer, but you'll see that this will work. So once you've got it inserted pretty much square with the garment, and you're going to fold it over. I noticed my garment was a little bit curved. I had a little bit more taper than I need to. You might not want that much taper on a t-shirt. So I kind of lessened my taper. And now you just basically draw out the part that you have drawn into your shirt to make it an exact fit. So once your shirt fits you exactly, now you're going to make a template saying this is the shirt that I want to make. So once I've sketched it out onto the cardboard, I basically cut it out now. And I'm going to, you can make it pretty later. You can use different types of material, but I start with cardboard. And that's basically what I'm using right there. That's what that garment should look like. Now I'm taking another shirt. This is a polo shirt. You button it down, you fold it inside out, make sure that it's flat underneath. There's no creases underneath there. Very important. And from the top of the shoulder, I measure 11 inches. If you're taller than me, you may measure 12 inches or longer. You'll learn how to make those exact measurements for yourself over time. And again, I want to have 42 inches being the end result. So I'll take out 1 inch now because this garment is narrower than the first one that I made. So I'm taking out 1 inch at the top, 2 inches at the bottom. Always you're going to taper in. 1 inch at your top measurement, take in 2 inches at your bottom measurement, and you're going to draw a line. Exact. There's your 1 inch mark, and now there's a 2 inch mark, and you're going to just connect those two lines with your template. Once those two lines are connected, you're just going to mark those out. As you can see, this garment is a lot narrower than the first one, so I'm cutting out a lot less to make it a correct fit. And once you have that done, it matches to your template. You're going to pin down your garment at those 3 places because you don't want it to move once you turn over and start sewing. And you're going to extend it out to, if you want to reduce the sleeve size, you want to extend your armhole size a little bit beyond where it is now. The only thing left to do now is simply to sew it. My next garment is the regular fit shirt, and I'm using blue chalk. I've got blue chalk, white chalk, and black chalk that I use depending on the color of the garment. I measure 11 inches from my seam, my shoulder seam. If you're taller, you may measure 12 inches or longer. You'll find out what works for you. Then 6 inches below that first measurement is where my second measurement is. I'm going to be ending up with 42 inches across, so that I'll take out basically maybe 2 inches from one side here. There's my 2 inch mark, and then 3 inches at the second place because I'm going to taper in. You're always going to taper in because you have a V taper if you're a muscular guy. So you're going to be 2 inches at the top for me, and then 3 inches at the bottom. That leaves me that 42-inch span. I'm going to connect it at the apex or the curve of that template is where I put my second mark, my lower mark, and I just draw it straight along that seam. And the same here, I line up those two areas. It's going to be lined up at the apex of the curve is where that lower mark, that 3-inch mark is going to be. And I extend it all the way down to the end of the garment. And I'm going to pin it in 3 places because when you turn it over and start sewing, you'll tend to lose the alignment or you'll start wrinkling underneath. That's why I make sure that I pin both sides in 3 places. And then I want to extend out my armhole size. So at the top of my measurement, I'm going to extend it all the way out to the cuff of the sleeve, and that's where I'm going to angle it so I can gradually reduce that. Make sure that you're flat. Always make sure that you're flat underneath. So there's my mark at the top, and it's extending it all the way out to the cuff because I want to taper that sleeve on both sides. I start at the sleeve. Follow your line. Make sure that you're not puckered underneath. The hem is a little bit off at the bottom, as you can tell, but that's okay. It's not going to line up exactly at the bottom. All right. And you do the same as I did on the previous shirt. I'm going to show in the video, so I'm not going to show you all of the steps here with this one. So here's the before. A little bit blousy there. And here's afterwards. These are both 17.5 shirts. It's just this is a regular fit. The first one was a loose fit. And the armhole size has been reduced. And there's the end result. It's good. All right. And now we're going to finish up with the seam that we just sewed. We're going to kind of make it really nice by putting in a twin needle and just following the seam. I started at the bottom of the shirt or the hem of the shirt, sewing up toward the armpit hole on one side. And then when I turn it over and do the other side, I started the armhole side and sew down toward the hem. It's just a lot less material I'm working with kind of, on my right hand side. And you'll learn that as you go. It's easy to just kind of sew one direction when you're sewing one side, then turn it over and sew it the opposite direction. Cool. That's what the seam should look like. Looking good. All right. So the same technique is going to apply with a t-shirt. You can measure from the top of your shoulder seam. I measure 11 inches. If you're taller, you may measure 12 or more. If you're shorter, you measure less. And from your first seam at the 11-inch mark, I measure 6 inches below that, which is a 17-inch mark. And then I'm going to measure the width of the garment. Remember, I want 42 inches to be the final result here. So I have to take out a certain amount on both sides because this is a pretty wide shirt. So once I've calculated what I want to be my interval in the middle, I'll make my mark. And that mark, I think right here is 2 inches. Then I'm going to take out 3 inches at the bottom. You're going to taper in 2 inches at the top position, 3 inches at the bottom. At the apex of your curve is where you're going to have your lower mark. And you're going to just draw that out. Again, I'm going to measure out. There's my, actually 3 inches there. I had to take out quite a bit. 3 inches at the top and then 4 inches at the bottom. So it's quite a bit I had to take out there. So there's my 3-inch mark. Okay. But you get the idea. And you're going to just draw it out. I got quite a bit of taper on this shirt. You might not want to taper it quite as much. And you'll see the end result when you make your template. You may not want to taper it quite that much. This arm sleeve was a little bit longer than what I wanted it to be, so I'm going to reduce the arm sleeve to about 7 inches. So 7 inches from my shoulder seam, I'm going to cut the arm sleeve. I'm going to cut the sleeve at 7 inches. So I'm basically cutting off about, I think about 2.5 inches. That's how much I want to cut off of this sleeve right now. I'm going to make it a little bit shorter sleeve. Making sure it's flat. And pressing down hard on the cardboard always. That's what I'm going to cut away. All right. Measure the same on both sides. 7 inches. Cool. And from that, I'm going to reduce the armhole size. I'm going to go to 6.5 inches. I want it to be kind of a fit, sort of like Under Armour fit, sort of a tight fit garment rather than being a loose fit sleeve. Now I know the shirt, some people wear t-shirts loosely, but to make this work for the purpose of tailoring a t-shirt and making it a tight fit shirt. So I'm tapering it in to the top of where my line was when I was sewing the inseam of the shirt, extending it on out from there. And I'm basically going to just sew the line. Again, you can turn the garment over and measure from the other side. That makes it easy to sew, but I decided for demonstration purposes just to leave it flat and sew from the same side. Cut out the excess. Right, so that's what I'm starting with. Now I'm going to have to fold in, so I have to make kind of like a reduction here because I want to sew that sleeve down. Using a twin needle, I'm going to sew down the little cuff that I just ironed into place. So that's about 5/8 of an inch that I've folded under and ironed. And now with a twin needle, I'm starting at my seam underneath the shirt when I sew. I always start at the seam because it's less visible there. And just following on around. Make sure you're not puckered anywhere. All right. And that's basically what any t-shirt looks just like that. It's just not been ironed yet. Once you iron it, it'll look perfect. That's where it looks underneath, looking good. That's before. Yeah, pretty blousey shirt. It looks good. That's good. Some people wear shirts like that, but for the purpose of this, I just want to taper it, and that's the after. This is kind of more of a custom fit. I shortened the sleeve, reduced the arm size, and basically tapered the t-shirt. So depending on how you want to wear it, that's how you would tailor a t-shirt using the same method. All right. That's it, guys. Hope you enjoyed what we've done today. Make it an awesome day. No matter what you do, make it awesome. Bye.